The rain was coming down in sheets when Emma Harper finally got her twins settled for the night. She stood in the cramped kitchen of their rental house, staring at the eviction notice on the counter, 30 days to come up with 3 months, back rent or they'd be on the street. Her hands trembled as she picked up her phone, scrolling through her contacts until she found her brother's number. Emma was 31 years old, with honey blonde hair pulled back in a messy bun and tired eyes that had seen too much struggle. She wore a cream-colored knit sweater that had seen better days, several holes from wear, a faded gray skirt, and mismatched socks because laundry had become a luxury of time she couldn't afford. Behind her, clinging to her legs, were her 4-year-old twins, Oliver, with his white blonde hair and serious expression, clutching a worn stuffed rabbit, and Sophia, with lighter hair and pink leggings, holding an orange stuffed fox that had been a thrift store find. Emma took a deep breath and started typing a message to her brother. James. He lived across the country, but he was the only family she had left who might be able to help. James, I hate to ask, but I'm desperate. I'm 3 months behind on rent and they're going to evict us. The kids don't understand why we might have to leave. I've tried everything, second jobs, food banks, selling everything I can. I just need $2,400 to catch up. I know you've helped before, and I swear I'll pay you back. The twins need stability, please. She hit send before she could second-guess herself, then set the phone down and started washing dishes in the sink, one of the few activities that let her feel like she was doing something productive, while her mind raced with worry. Her phone buzzed a few minutes later. She dried her hands and picked it up, expecting her brother's response. Instead, she saw a message from an unknown number. I think you may have sent this to the wrong person. But I read your message and I'd like to help. Can you tell me more about your situation? Emma's stomach dropped. Oh God, she'd messaged a wrong number. She quickly checked her sent messages and realized in her exhausted, stressed state she'd transposed 2 digits in James's phone number. She'd just sent her most vulnerable, desperate plea to a complete stranger. Her face burned with humiliation. She typed quickly, I'm so sorry. I meant to text my brother. Please just delete that message and forget you saw it. I'm mortified. The response came within seconds. Please don't be embarrassed. These things happen, but I meant what I said. I'd like to help if I can. My name is Andrew. Andrew Castellano. Emma stared at the name. It sounded vaguely familiar, but she couldn't place it. She was too tired to think straight. That's incredibly kind, but I can't accept money from a stranger. I'm sorry for bothering you. Then don't think of it as accepting money from a stranger. Think of it as accepting help from someone who's been where you are and remembers what it felt like. I grew up in foster care. I know what it's like to feel like the world is closing in. Please let me help. Emma felt tears welling up. This couldn't be real. People didn't just offer to help strangers, did they? I don't understand. Why would you help someone you don't know? Because someone did it for me once, and I swore that if I ever got to a place where I could do the same for someone else, I would. And because I have 2 nieces about your twins' age, and the thought of them facing eviction breaks my heart. Where are you located? Portland, Oregon. There was a longer pause this time, then. I'm actually in Portland right now. Business trip. I know this is going to sound strange, but would you be willing to meet somewhere public, if that makes you more comfortable? I'd like to hear your story and figure out how I can help. No strings, no expectations. Just one person helping another. Emma's instincts screamed at her that this was too good to be true. But another part of her, the part that was exhausted from working 2 jobs, from constantly telling her kids they couldn't afford things, from lying awake at night trying to figure out how to keep a roof over their heads, wanted desperately to believe that maybe, just maybe, this was real. I have my kids. I can't leave them with anyone. Bring them. There's a diner called Rosie's on Morrison Street. Do you know it? How about tomorrow morning, 10 a.m.? I'll buy everyone breakfast and we can talk. Emma knew Rosie's. It was a friendly, busy place, definitely public and safe. And breakfast there was cheap. Even if this turned out to be some kind of scam or weird situation, at least she'd get a hot meal for her and the twins out of it. Okay, but I need to tell you, I'm a mess right now. I look like I haven't slept in days because I haven't. My kids are wearing clothes from Goodwill. I just want you to know what you're getting into. All I need you to be is honest. That's enough. See you tomorrow at 10. Emma barely slept that night, her mind racing through possibilities. Was this a scam? Some kind of trafficking situation? Should she tell someone where she was going? She eventually texted her neighbor, Linda, a retired teacher who sometimes watched the twins, giving her the details of the meeting just in case. The next morning, she dressed the twins in their best Goodwill finds, Oliver in jeans and a sweater, Sophia in her gray dress with her favorite pink leggings. Emma put on the same sweater she'd worn the night before. It was her nicest one and did her best with her hair. At Rosie's diner, Emma scanned the room nervously. A man sitting alone in a corner booth caught her eye and stood up. He was probably in his late 30s, with dark hair swept back, a strong jawline and kind eyes. He wore a perfectly tailored dark suit that probably cost more than Emma's monthly rent. But he'd loosened his tie and had a warm, approachable smile. "Emma?" he asked as she approached, her twins pressed against her sides. "Yes, Andrew?" "That's me." "Please, sit down." He gestured to the booth, then knelt down to be at eye level with the twins. "And who are these two?" "I'm Oliver," her son said shyly, holding up his stuffed rabbit. "This is Mr. Hoppers." "I'm Sophia," her daughter announced, less shy. "This is Rusty the Fox. He's very brave." "It's nice to meet you both," Andrew said seriously. "I'm Andrew, and I think Mr. Hoppers and Rusty the Fox are excellent names." He straightened and sat across from them as a waitress came over. "Order whatever you want," he told Emma. "Really? I mean it." Emma, conscious of the prices even though Andrew was paying, started to order modestly, but Andrew interrupted. "How about we get pancakes for everyone? And eggs and bacon? Orange juice for the kids?" He looked at Emma. "Coffee for you?" "Yes, please," Emma said, feeling overwhelmed. After the waitress left, Andrew folded his hands on the table and looked at Emma with genuine concern. "Thank you for trusting me enough to come. I know this situation must seem bizarre." "That's putting it mildly," Emma said. "I spent half the night convinced you were going to try to kidnap us." Andrew winced. "I'm sorry. I should have considered how this would look. For what it's worth, I'm exactly who I said I am, Andrew Castellano. I run a venture capital firm based in San Francisco. I'm in Portland, meeting with some tech startups we're considering investing in." He pulled out his phone and showed her his LinkedIn profile, his company website, even a recent article from Forbes about his investment portfolio. Emma stared at the information, slowly realizing why his name had sounded familiar. Andrew Castellano was a millionaire, possibly a billionaire, from what she was reading, and he was sitting across from her in a diner, offering to help her pay her rent. "I don't understand," she said quietly. "You have all this money, all this success. Why do you care about a wrong number text from a single mom you've never met?" Andrew was quiet for a moment, and Emma saw something shift in his expression, a shadow of old pain. "I told you I grew up in foster care. What I didn't tell you is that when I was 8 years old, my mom and I were evicted from our apartment. We lived in our car for 3 months. Then she got sick, pneumonia, probably from the cold, and she died in the emergency room. I went into the system after that, bounced around from home to home for 10 years. Emma felt her breath catch. "I'm so sorry." "I got lucky," Andrew continued. "One of my foster families, the Castellanos, they were older. Couldn't have kids of their own, and they saw something in me. They adopted me when I was 16. Paid for college, believed in me, gave me the stability I needed to succeed. But I never forgot what it felt like to be that kid living in a car, scared and hungry and watching my mom try so hard to keep us afloat." He looked at Oliver and Sophia, who were coloring on the paper placemats the diner provided. "When I read your text last night, I saw my mom. Desperate, doing everything she could, just needing a break. And I thought, I can be that break for someone. I have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. Why not use it to make sure those kids don't end up like I did?" The food arrived, and for a few minutes, everyone focused on eating. Emma couldn't remember the last time she'd had pancakes this good, or coffee she hadn't made in her ancient coffee maker at home. The twins were in heaven, syrup on their faces, chattering between bites. "Tell me about your situation," Andrew said gently. "How did you get to this point?" Emma told him everything. How she'd gotten pregnant at 26, with twins after a relationship that fell apart. when her boyfriend realized he didn't want to be a father. How she'd been a graphic designer before the pregnancy, but the company had downsized while she was on maternity leave. How she'd been struggling ever since to find steady work that paid enough and offered the flexibility she needed as a single parent. How she'd burned through her small savings, then her credit, then sold everything of value she owned. How she was currently working as a waitress during the day and doing data entry online at night. But it still wasn't enough to cover rent, utilities, food, and childcare. "I'm not lazy," she said, her voice breaking. "I'm working as hard as I can, but it's like I'm running on a treadmill that keeps getting faster and I can't keep up. Every time I think I'm about to catch up, something happens. The car breaks down. Oliver gets an ear infection. The daycare raises their rates, and I'm behind again." "I believe you," Andrew said, "and I don't think you're lazy. I think you're a single mother, dealing with a system that's designed to keep people like you struggling. So here's what I'd like to do if you'll let me." Emma braced herself. "I'd like to pay off your back rent so you're not facing eviction. That's $2,400, right? Consider it done. But I'd also like to set up a fund for you and the kids, enough to give you 6 months of breathing room. Time to find better work, to maybe retrain for a new career if that's what you want, to not have to work 2 jobs and never see your children." Emma felt like she couldn't breathe. "I can't accept that. That's too much. I don't even know you." "You can pay it forward someday," Andrew said. "When you're back on your feet and you see someone else struggling, that's all I ask. Help someone else the way I'm helping you." "Why?" Emma whispered. "Really, why?" Andrew looked at the twins again. "Because I have nieces their age, my sister's kids, and every time I see them, I think about how different my life could have been if someone had helped my mom before. Things got so desperate. Maybe she'd still be alive. Maybe I would have had a childhood that wasn't defined by instability and fear. I can't change my past, Emma, but I can change someone else's future. Let me do this, please." Emma was crying now, tears streaming down her face. Sophia noticed and climbed into her lap, patting her cheek. "It's okay, Mama, don't cry." "These are happy tears, baby," Emma managed to say. She looked at Andrew. "I don't know how to thank you." "You don't have to," Andrew said. "Just take care of those kids. Be the mom you already are, the one who's fighting so hard to give them stability. That's thanks enough." Over the next week, Andrew was true to his word. He paid Emma's back rent directly to her landlord, along with 2 months in advance. He set up a trust fund that would provide her with a modest monthly stipend for a year. Not enough to make her wealthy, but enough to stop the constant panic, to quit the night data entry job, to have time to actually be with her kids. But what surprised Emma most was that Andrew didn't just write a check and disappear. He checked in regularly, texting to see how they were doing, whether they needed anything. When he came back to Portland on another business trip 2 weeks later, he took Emma and the twins to dinner, this time at a family restaurant where Oliver and Sophia could be loud and messy and themselves. "You don't have to keep doing this," Emma said as they watched the twins play in the restaurant's small arcade area. "You've already done so much." "I want to," Andrew said. "Look, I don't have a lot of family. My adoptive parents passed away a few years ago. My sister and her kids live in Boston, and I don't get to see them as much as I'd like. I spend most of my time working or traveling for work. This," he gestured to the twins, laughing as they played, "this reminds me what actually matters." Emma studied him. "You're lonely." Andrew looked surprised, then rueful. "That obvious? To someone else who knows what lonely looks like?" "Yeah?" Emma paused. "I'm lonely too. I mean, I have the kids and I love them more than anything. But adult conversation, friends, someone to share the burden with, I haven't had that in years." "Then maybe we can be lonely together sometimes," Andrew said. "If that's not too weird to say." "It's not weird," Emma said. "It's honest. I like honest." Over the following months, Andrew became a regular presence in their lives. He visited Portland every few weeks, always making time to see Emma and the twins. He took them to the zoo, to children's museums, to parks. He helped Oliver with a school project about space and taught Sophia how to play chess, which she was surprisingly good at for a 4-year-old. He was patient and kind and never made Emma feel like a charity case. And somewhere along the way, without either of them quite planning it, their relationship shifted from benefactor and recipient to something deeper, Friends first, then something more. It was Emma's neighbor, Linda, who finally said what everyone else was thinking. That man is in love with you, honey. And unless I'm very much mistaken, you're in love with him too. It's complicated, Emma protested. He helped me when I was at my lowest. How do I know what I feel is real and not just gratitude? Because you light up when he texts, Linda said. Because your kids call him Andrew, Dad, and he doesn't correct them. Because when you talk about him, you smile in a way you never smiled before. That's not gratitude, sweetie. That's love. Emma thought about this for days. She thought about how Andrew listened when she talked. Really listened. Remembering details about her life and asking about them later. How he brought books he thought she'd like and coffee from the nice place downtown. How he sat through endless episodes of Kids, Shows Without Complaint, and Built Block, towers with Oliver and Sophia that were engineering marvels. How he looked at her sometimes with an expression she couldn't quite name, but that made her heart race. When Andrew came to Portland the next time, Emma asked Linda to watch the kids for an evening. She invited Andrew to her house, the house she could now afford to stay in, thanks to him, and made dinner. This is nice, Andrew said, looking around the small but cozy living room. Emma had been able to buy a few things to make it feel more like home, a comfortable couch, some artwork for the walls, toys for the kids that weren't broken or secondhand. I wanted to talk to you, Emma said, nervous. About us. About what this is. Andrew set down his wine glass. Okay. When you answered my text that first night, you changed my life, Emma said. You saved us from eviction, gave us stability, showed up when we needed someone. And I will always be grateful for that. But Andrew, she took a breath. Somewhere along the way, it stopped being just gratitude. Somewhere along the way, I fell in love with you. And I need to know if I'm alone in feeling this way. Andrew was quiet for a long moment, and Emma felt panic rising. She'd misread this. She'd made a fool of herself. She'd risked the best friendship she'd had in years by... I fell in love with you the third time I visited, Andrew said quietly. When Sophia had that stomach bug and you were exhausted from being up all night with her. But you still made sure Oliver felt included and loved. I watched you comfort her and read to him at the same time. And I thought, this is the strongest person I've ever met. This is who I want to be with. Then why didn't you say anything? Emma asked. Because I didn't want you to feel obligated, Andrew said. I didn't want you to think you had to return my feelings. Because I'd helped you financially. I wanted to make sure that whatever you felt was real and not just some kind of, I don't know, trauma bond or gratitude or... Emma kissed him. It was impulsive and messy and perfect. And when they pulled apart, both of them were smiling. That's real, Emma said. That's me choosing you because of who you are, not because of what you've done for me. Although what you've done for me is pretty amazing. You're pretty amazing, Andrew said, cupping her face in his hands. You're raising two incredible kids on your own. You're working hard to build a better life. You're kind and honest and real. Emma, I would have fallen for you whether I'd helped you financially or not. The money was just the thing that brought us together. What kept me coming back was you. They took it slowly after that, both of them cautious of moving too fast, of disrupting the kids' lives, of risking what they'd built. Andrew continued to live in San Francisco, but he arranged his schedule to be in Portland as often as possible. Emma started working again as a freelance graphic designer, her skills rusty but returning. Andrew connected her with some of his business contacts who needed design work. And gradually, she built up a client base that allowed her to work from home and be present for the twins. A year after that first accidental text, Andrew asked Emma and the twins to come to San Francisco for a visit. He showed them his condo, took them to see the Golden Gate Bridge, rode the cable cars with Oliver and Sophia shrieking with delight. On their last evening there, he took them all to dinner at a restaurant with a view of the bay. After dessert, he pulled out a small box. Emma, he said, a year ago you sent me a text by accident, but I don't think it was an accident. I think it was fate. I think you were supposed to find me and I was supposed to find you. You've taught me what family really means. You've shown me that love isn't about grand gestures, it's about showing up. Being present, choosing someone every day. I love you. I love Oliver and Sophia. I want to be part of your family officially. Will you marry me? Emma was crying again. But this time it was different from that. Desperate day in her kitchen when she'd typed out a plea for help, this